Does spec work democratize the industry, or is it devaluing the work of highly trained professionals? So I'm going to let everyone weigh in here, and let's start with Jeffrey.
So I guess my stance on it, which I wrote a blog post about 2 weeks ago, is that as a designer, I see the design side of it where there's fear that there can be this swell of amateur designers that could essentially dilute the pool of professional graphic designers, and it could have a negative effect on the industry. I think that the issue is that it's happening online, which is basically a catalyst for having the amateur sort of flood in a lot faster. But from also as a business owner, in a black and white sense, while I don't agree with spec work, I guess I see both sides of the issue. So while I guess it doesn't necessarily answer the question directly of my opinion, which is something that I'm going to, I guess, talk about further later, is that I'm not sure. And that was the point of my my blog post that I wrote 2 weeks ago, is that I kind of am gray. I'm kind of in the center of it.
I would say it absolutely devalues the value of the profession of individual designers I think in a shocking and horrible way. Cheapens the whole industry.
AIGA has a long-standing and well-known position against spec work, and yet late last year we opened this all up for discussion again because there's been a lot of talk, and we posted on our site a request for feedback. We're collecting feedback, and the question is, should AIGA's position on spec work change? And we're eager to hear from all of you. I think our position is basically that it's hard enough to do great design under the best of circumstances, and spec work pretty much guarantees the worst circumstances.
Spec work is here to stay. You cannot stop it, and it's definitely going to increase during a recession as buyers have less money, as a new market of people that want to build personal brands, want to enter the lower end of the design area and buy designs. And also some designers may be out of work and may need to find other sources of income. So I don't think it's an ethical question or not. I just see that it's definitely here to stay.
We feel that it democratizes the industry. It gives people opportunity and access who might not have had that opportunity and access. The internet enables this. The internet enables people from all over the world to compete on a purely level playing field. In 10 months, CrowdSpring has built a community of over 17,000 creatives. Some of them are good, some of them not so much, but they all have an equal opportunity and equal access to clients, and that's democratization.
It was interesting seeing a split between, on one side, within the design community, on one side, kind of what you could think of as the master and journeyman class of designers, which is to say established, and the young, what you could think of as the apprentice designers. People are just coming out of design schools. And the younger ones were like, hey, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's a little tough. As one poster noted, all the agencies require 3 to 5 years of experience, and how am I supposed to get that? This sort of classic catch-22, and these sites come up that can supply, that can give work to these young designers from companies that can't afford agencies. Seems innocuous that the market's meeting a demand. Let's
Absolutely forever. Design students, film students, musicians, creatives of all types come out of school and they need a job and they need experience, and they're stuck with that catch-22 that we were all stuck with when we were 22 years old. And they take internships and they take apprenticeships, and they aren't paid for those, but they do those to build their portfolio, they do those to gain experience, they do those to meet people, and CrowdSpring and 99 Designs and sites like ours enable that in a different way, in a bigger way that the internet allows.
No serious or professional designer would be associated with this site. And I think, in fact, by having talked to some ad agencies recently, there's almost a blacklisting of those that do. It's kind of a negative to say, oh yeah, I submitted 5,000 quick sketches and I didn't win this time, but I might next time. And We just think there's going to be a growing gap as opposed to some synchronization. And I just like a couple things that Michael said. Number of hits and number of people that come to your site doesn't necessarily make it a good site. The people who judge these logos are selected because they contributed a small amount of money, which doesn't mean they're qualified or have any experience in judging graphic design. I don't think you'll see any self-respecting big organization go this route and spend as little as possible on something that's possibly their most important public design face representing their company.
There's all kinds of people working on CrowdSpring. There are what many of us might consider hobbyists or amateurs competing. There's stay-at-home moms competing. There's established professionals competing, including art directors from very large agencies who want to keep their skills sharp in logo design or other types of design, or just like to compete, or are there to learn, or are there to be a member of the community. And I would push back. Numbers do mean something. Numbers mean that there's a demand, there's a need, there's a hunger for this.
What CrowdSpring and the sites that are similar to it have found a niche where they're able to basically pair, like C and D level companies with inexperienced designers. And from a designer standpoint, I think that there's, being able to get any work done, just trying to practice all the time any way you can, I think that's fine. The relationship part of it is that while the designer isn't learning how to develop that relationship, it's most likely that these companies are never going to need to have a relationship with the designer because they're never going to be, because it's a one-time shot. The mom and pop flower shop just needs something for a sign, right? And again, I'm not agreeing with it at all, but I don't think that it's ever going to creep up to, like David said, where you're never going to have these agencies diving into this because the quality of the work is never going to be at the level of what anyone who would be willing to participate on the site is capable of. It's always going to be that kind of low quality and comparatively.
We speak equally to two audiences. We speak to an audience of buyers, consumers of these services, and an audience of creators, suppliers of these services. On the buy side, we see a range of buyers. We see everything from mom and pop businesses to people doing designs for their personal blogs to looking for a logo or brand identity for a new small business, all the way up to major brands, agencies, creative shops leveraging this community, looking for ideas, looking for new, fresh work that they might not have access to before.
Spec is design in a vacuum. The actual design emerges when a designer who has a unique ability to understand the client-specific needs and goals and challenges is able to then extend from the consulting and problem-solving processes, extend a solution that addresses that. Posting a project without that kind of give and take precludes that relationship. Money or compensation is the representation of the client's commitment to that relationship.
But so are you saying that we're not going to see that it's going to arrest itself at what you would call to me yesterday when we spoke on the phone, decoration, that there's a difference between decoration and design, so that because it's or are we going to see it, as Jeremiah is arguing, that it's going to have a significant market presence?
We don't foretell the future, and that's why we've opened this up for discussion again.
Okay.
I don't know what's going to happen.